Good morning. To continue with Revelation chapter 21, we're going to do verses 7 and 8. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. When I look at he that overcometh, what I feel in my spirit is that God is saying all of the different things that we've experienced in our lives that could have taken us out, that intended to take us out, that intended to discourage us from our faith, that intended to make us not stay in the direction of being transformed from the things of this world and being renewed in our minds and bodies and souls by not allowing the Spirit to lead, guide, and instruct us. But to those that do allow the Spirit to mold and shape and renew the mind, will, and emotions, are in the control or in the willingness to sacrifice, willingness to follow, willingness to learn of the ways and attributes of the righteous Spirit of God. These are the ones that overcomes and the ones that will inherit all things. Inherit the nothing is impossible to them that believe. Inherit all of the riches of the glory, all of the riches of the Spirit. Everything that has been set aside for those that overcome. And again, to me, that means inherit God. Verse 8, but the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. I don't have to break down what fearful means because we have so much of that in our face as it is. The minute we turn on the TV news, it's just the spirit of fear floods our world. What we see, what we hear. You have to be very intentional to not allow those things to plant seeds in our hearts and minds. Because it's right there. It's no problem. You could do that if you allow that, and there's no problem to allow it because it's so readily available. And to overcome the spirit of fear, that takes intentional, purposeful attention. Unbelieving. Again, I don't have to break down what unbelieving is. There's a lot of things that want to steal our faith. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He don't want you to believe. He don't want you to have hope. Don't want you to see the visions of a prosperous, joyful, happy life. A life that's being renewed daily. A mind that is being renewed daily. A soul that is being renewed daily into the image of God. Abominable, murderers, whoremongers, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars. Again, everywhere we turn, everywhere we look, come to find out things are all of lies. The devil is the author of all lies. He's the father of all liars. None of us is perfect. A lot of us walked in these ways, but we have been renewed. We are being recreated. We are being molded. We are being willingly letting the spirit from within create this new man. Shall have their part in the lake, and there are those waters again. In the previous verses, it says that God will remove all oceans, the sea, and here we see they have their part in the lake. I wonder, where did those waters go? What did God do with those waters? That lake burns with fire and brimstone. I asked God what is meant by the fire and brimstone. And as I researched it, my spirit was being led to like a volcano. The brimstone is like the hot, fiery rocks of the volcano. Lava, the melted rocks, the brimstone, the hot fire, volcanic fire rocks, which is the second death. I asked God, well, what was the first death? And I was led to know that the first death is the body. And that second death is that soul. The one that didn't allow that mind, that will, those emotions and feelings to be renewed, to be transformed into that image of God's righteousness. That soul man didn't allow the new man to come out, to be built within. And then I asked God about the fire, because fire, I can look at that as an emotion, a feeling. This is something that soul, that's where feelings and emotions are held at within the soul. So that soul will be fire, feeling, burning, hot lava rocks. That soul will feel this. That's that second death. Seem like I want to be able to keep talking about the descriptions of this, but I'm not being led to. So again, he that overcometh shall inherit all things. I look at that as the fullness of God's Spirit. All of the righteousness, the truth, the abundance of glory, the abundance of that son inheriting the riches of their father. And I will be his God, and he shall be my son. We're made in the very image. We are the very replica, carbon copy of that spirit of my Father, of God. We have been renewed. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.